Hi everybody, welcome to the Claremont Classic Garage. I'm Kevin. Today we're going to have a go at putting our B2160 dozer blade back together. We finally got everything painted and the paint's all dry and hard. Let's get to work. Here's these parts ready to go, and all our small parts and the hydraulic rams are on the workbench. First thing we're going to do is install the cutting edge. It's here. Now you'll notice this cutting edge, like most cutting edges, is reversible, and it's been riding on this side for a long time. You can see this much of it is gone. Now in theory I should flip it over and let this new side start working, but the one advantage of sticking with this side is that, number one, it's hard to see, but they wear on a little bit of an arc. And that little bit of an arc really helps when you're angling it in gravel and going across grass. Plus, it gives me a little more space for the skis. So when I want to lift it up to keep it off the gravel and the grass, it just gives me that extra little bit of space. So we're going to keep it with the worn side down, and if I don't like it, I can always flip it, but that's how it's always been, and I've had no problem with it being that way. That looks nice, doesn't it? Now we'll stand it up and start working on the back side of it. Actually, easier probably to flip it on its face like that than try and work on it while it's standing up. So first thing I'm going to do is put the skis back on. Get them off my bench. Now I'm going to get some wire brushes in my electric drill and just clean out all these bores where pins go, so there's no paint in there to make the pins stick or not want to go in, etc. Next we'll install the hitch bracket and the trip pin. We'll grease that up to make sure it's nice and free and stays that way. I had originally considered putting grease fittings here, here, and here to let me pump some grease into this shaft to keep it free, but really the only real way to have done that would have been to drill the entire length of the shaft and put holes in it to actually get the grease around it. Or I guess I could have cut grooves in the shaft that corresponded with the grease fittings here to get the grease spread around. Anyway, I think the best thing to do is I've greased up the bores in this. I've put a nice coat of oil on the pin, and we'll just make sure that we keep that well lubricated all the time. Nobody ever did up until now, that's for sure. Now we can just tap it home and then put a bolt and a locking nut to hold the pin in place. That's nice and free. Now we're going to go ahead and install the trip spring lockouts. So these are a pretty simple device. When not in use, they hang up here in this hole out of the way. And when you want to inhibit the trip function of the blade, you move it down to this hole, and it grabs that little tab that's welded on there onto the hitch bracket, and there you go. It inhibits the trip function. We want the trip inhibited because we're using it to plow snow. So I'll move that one down to this hole here. Now we'll install the actual trip springs. So they just go in there like that with an eye bolt. It takes a little bit of a stretch to get them through there to get the nut caught on at first, but then it's okay. And then what we'll do, we'll wind them up so there's a little bit sticking out, and then put a second nut on to jam it, and that'll be perfect. Now we'll install the hitch and the pivot pin. The pin went right in. Now I've installed the cinch bolt. I just got to tighten up this nut, and then we can go ahead and pump some grease into the pin. The pin's all greased up, so now we're going to go ahead and install the angle rams. So these just go into place with a pin and a cinch bolt, like everything else on this thing. So I'm going to go ahead and put them in. I'll put lots of anti-seize on the pins and stuff, so if we ever have to take this apart again, we don't have to fight too much. And I'll see you when I got them on. Perfect. Now I'm going to stand it back up and we'll put the hydraulic hoses on. So those are the two pressure lines. They're both going to get replaced with new ones. This one here, the short one, we could call it the balance line. All it does is connect these two sides together, because the only thing that flows in here is air. Theoretically, you could probably just put a cylinder vent in each of these ports. The problem being that it's down low and it's a piece of snow removal equipment. It could be very easy for those vents to get encapsulated in ice or muck or something and stop working and cause problems. So it's best to just leave them balanced. Now, rather than get a new hose for that, I found a used one that's in fine shape. We'll just put this one on here. I think what I'm going to do before I start, I'm going to tweak the angle on this fitting just a little bit, and then we'll get this guy put on first. The original pressure lines are custom made. They've got 1/4 inch pipe thread at the tractor end and 3/8 pipe thread at the cylinder end. So what we're going to do is, buying the ready-made lines, they're 1/4 at both ends. So we just got a couple of bushings with the right tapered seats in them, and we'll use these on that end of our new line, and everything should be fine. So I'm going to go now and put these lines together. All right, we've got our new lines unboxed, and we got to put a quick disconnect on one end and a bushing on the other end. So we're going to put a little Teflon tape on it. There's many opinions on Teflon tape. I've used it many times for years and years and years, and it's always served me well. The trick with this stuff is not to go crazy with it and not to go too close near the end, because it can, if you overlap the end, little bits of it can get cut off and they start migrating through your system and start sticking valves and stuff like that. We used to have all kinds of problems with the transmissions at work because of this. But Teflon tape, over the years, I seem to have accumulated about 10,000 rolls of it, so we use it when we can. I'll show you the right way to do it. So here's the right way to use this stuff. You get it so that it's coming up the back of the roll, or the side of the roll that's facing you, and you start on the side of the thread that's away from you. Now, we don't start at the end, we start up here. And then you wrap it around a couple of turns. You notice we're going the same way that the fitting is going to be turned onto it. If you roll this backwards onto the thread, it'll all wad up when you try to screw your fitting on. So we've gone around 2.5 times, and that's it. And then our fitting just screws on, and it runs up over top of it, and it'll seal perfectly. So let's do the other end. Same idea. Start back here. Give it a couple of turns. And on it goes. Now we'll use a couple of wrenches and tighten them up. These are tapered threads, so you're not trying to run it down until you bury the head. You'll crack this thing. I've seen guys split brand new carburetors. You just tighten it up till it's tight. That's the whole idea. This taper tightens itself into that taper, and that seals the joint. Now we're going to install the lines. We don't need to use any sealant on this, because what you'll notice is This bushing has got a little taper cut into the end of it. You see that? It's hard. My camera doesn't want to focus. But there's a taper cut into there, and inside here there's a seat that taper gets tightened against, almost like the valve in the valve seat in your cylinder head on your car engine. So that's what we're going to do. Another thing, when you're installing hydraulic hoses, because it's got wire in it, it's radially wrapped with wire all the way up, which makes it kind of stiff. So when you're installing it, you want to go with this, you want to use its natural curve to work with you. So just kind of let it curve, let the curve go where you need it to go. Don't make the line curve that way when you need it to go that way, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So we're going to go ahead and tighten these up, and we'll give these fittings a little tweak one way or the other if we have to make our lines flow nicely. So there we go. Our Kubota power angle dozer blade is back in one piece and looking really snazzy. All I got left to do, I ordered a new Kubota decal for it, but it hasn't showed up yet. Once that comes, we'll put that on there and it'll be complete. And we'll be ready to go, man. Anyway, I guess that's a wrap on this project. So if you would, please go down below there and hit that subscribe button and the bell so you get notifications when we post a new video. Hit the like button, leave a comment, share our video around. This is how we're trying to build our channel. Anyway, thanks so much for stopping in, and until next time, this is Kevin checking out from the Claremont Classic Garage. So long.